there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today we are going to be looking at the benefits of water reactive inks, and with one of my favorite techniques, it's kind of a 2-for-1 benefit as well, so I like that. I am using Distress Oxide inks as my water reactive inks today. For the sake of today's video, I'm using Villainous Potion, Uncharted Mariner and Peacock Feathers as my 3 colours. I'm going to pop these onto a piece of Tim Holtz watercolour paper. That is my favourite if I'm going to be doing some ink blending. But one of my most favourite parts about this ink blending is that your ink blending really does not have to be perfect. So all I'm going to do is get these 3 colours down here. I am using some domed foam blending tools. This is just what I find easiest. A good amount of ink on your paper is always going to be better than a light amount of ink. And this works with all sorts, dark inks, light inks, medium inks, and of course you're going to get different results, but it works with all of them. Bearing in mind that this also works with lots of water reactive inks. Anything that is going to reactivate when you add water to it. So that's the Catherine Paula inks, that's the normal distress inks, that is, I'm sure there are a whole list of them that are water reactive, just not pigment inks, which are permanent inks. They tend not to work. Most dye inks are, Simon Hurley's are, lots of them. Now, to create my stamp today, I have a die set that I really love, but it isn't in a stamp set, but I need to make it one. So that is a good handy hint that any dies that you have can be made into stamps, and good stamps at that. This set here is called the Leafy Dies 1 by Pink and Main, and it actually is like a layering set. You can layer these up together. I've used this in a few videos and I love this die set. It's very versatile for me. I am going to die cut this out of some foam, fun foam, like kids fun foam, and you need to have kind of at least 2 millimeters, if not 3 millimeters is best. The 1 millimeter thick is just a little bit thin. If you only have that, then I would suggest die cutting it out twice and layering them up together. Make sure you only run it through your die cutting machine once when you are die cutting foam, because it will distort on the way back through and you'll get a fresh new cut so that your die cut looks nothing like you intended it to be. Now for me, I just use double-sided tape and I tape it onto my acrylic blocks. If you want to keep it for a little bit longer, then you could use some cardboard, recycled cardboard, or if it's a smaller die, then I've seen milk bottle tops used or jam jar, the tops of those used, or something like that you could keep for a little bit longer. This one, I think you're actually going to end up seeing this one in a few videos because I know I've kept it and I already filmed a few videos with it just because it was sitting there, and I love this as a stamp. Now this is my water mister. This is my spray bottle. It is a continuous mister and it has a very even fine mist. So I love it for this technique. Any spray bottle is going to work, of course. I have even in the past just put water down on my table and dabbed the stamp into it to get a nice even, but I must admit I think the continuous sprayer does the best job of all. Then once I have added the water to my foam stamp, of course this is going to work with normal stamps as well. Any acrylic stamps or photopolymer stamps that you have, this works just as fine. But it just so turned out that I really wanted this die to be a stamp, so I made my own. Now here's the 2-for-1 part. You can put it down onto your ink blended background, and someone was talking to me in the background here, maybe one of my children, so I think that's why I paused for so long. You don't need to do it for quite that long. But I, just to keep life simple, am going to put the second version here in exactly the same layout as I do the first one. That way I don't have to find out where things are going to fit, because it's just going to be the same as the one I'm doing on the left. So I'm going to pop it down onto my coloured ink piece, then lift it straight up and put it down onto my plain piece, and that way I'm going to transfer that ink onto the second one. Now if you want to get a really nice contrast there between the ink and the colours, then you can dab it up with a paper towel, and of course that's going to remove even more colour. Here I'm just going to fill in all the little bits so that it is a nice complete panel, and then I'm going to turn both of these into some cards for you today. So this is not a new technique. I think I even have a couple more on my channel where I've used a similar technique, And so if I can, I will list those down below, but if not, then I'm sure that you'll be able to find them too. Let me know if you've tried this technique, with what tools and stamps that you've tried it with, or if there are other things around the house. I can just imagine even finding packaging, like if you did this with bubble wrap, sprayed the bubble wrap, and then did the water reactive inks like that, stamping it down onto that. So that would be fun to try too. Okay, now my brain is spinning and I'm going to get back on track to this video. So once I have my 2 panels complete, these are going to dry really fast, and I'm going to work on turning these into some cards. So this set here, this is the Elegant Twist Rectangles. I purchased a couple of different rectangle sort of die sets recently, just because my cards are usually quite, I wouldn't say clean and simple, but plain and simple maybe is a better way. I'm not even sure how to describe them. So I thought I would invest in a couple of a little bit fancier rectangle dies to go around the edges. So this is one of the ones that I purchased, and I am loving it. I know you're going to see this in lots of videos, but I also know that you're okay with that, because that's what this channel is about. It's about using the most and getting the most out of our supplies that we absolutely can possible, because we invest a lot of time and money into our supplies and card making and crafting, and so I like to make the best of it. Right, I have added some liquid glue to the back of that. I have pressed it down onto my background. Then I wasn't sure if I was going to keep the overhang, but I've decided not to, so I'm just angling it off to the side, and I have my little cutter bee scissors, which are just kind of sneaking in behind there perfectly. Now if you wanted to, I could have used the die to cut around the outside, but that's okay. It's okay, this works just fine, and it was a bit of an afterthought. Then once I've done that, I'm going to put this down onto my card base. My card base is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and it is 110 pound Frenchville brand paper that I make it out of, or cardstock. I get that from Spotlight here in New Zealand. I know that Australia also stock exactly the same cardstock as well, and I just buy it in bulk packs. Now this is where I'm going to use up some pieces actually that have been lying around, and I know if I bought in my little container you'd be like, I've seen those before. So I'm just trying a few little things. I was trying not to cover up too much of the background. I didn't want to add in too much to distract, but I didn't feel like the flowers stood out enough if I had them there just by themselves. So I settled on this elliptical ovals die cut that I already had die cut out. This is a Spellbinders set, and then this is a flower from Elena Crafts. It just is a stencil and dies. I love this. I've used this lots and lots of times, and I made heaps of these flowers and just now have a pottle of them that I just love being able to dig into. I created my own stem so that it was the perfect length for me, and then out of that Gardenia Woodware Craft Collection stamp set, I'm using the Best Wishes. Just a really simple little sentiment. I find that these ones are good because I can use these for a whole range of occasions. Now I maybe could add another flower or two, and at the end I'm actually going to add something that I think this is just missing to this card, but for the minute I'm going to put this one aside and work on the other one. Now I'm going to take the same 3 colors that I used in the background, so the same 3 inks that I started with, and I'm going to ink up a border. Now I cut the border using the Elegant Twist Rectangles. I just didn't do the twist part, I just had the borders, which are all in the same die set, so that makes it really handy. And then I just did those 3 colors and just did them around the outside, making sure to blend them together really nicely. Because they are all similar and beside each other on the color wheel, that means that I can blend them easily without having too much trouble. Now I'm going to put some liquid glue on the back of my frame that I have created, pop it down onto my background, so that it definitely creates a very strong frame, because it's quite a delicate little image that I have in the center. And I wanted to kind of enhance this one. I wanted to bring the background out. So again, you saw this little leftover circle here. This is called Rings Around the Circle by Spellbinders. That's what I've stamped the sentiment onto. And I'm going to pop this down onto my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base, add a little bit of foam tape, and then as my fun little added bit here, I was thinking how I just needed something else, maybe something a little bit shiny, a little bit of bling. But what I decided to do is bring in some Nouveau drops. I'm going to bring them in silver, and all I'm going to do is just tiny little dots down the leaves. Now I think this brings attention to the leaves in the background. I think it adds some really sort of delicate detail, which I really think this needed. I'm going to do this on all of the leaves, and I think this is a really nice finishing touch. So if you are after any of the supplies I have used in today's video, or you just need to take a closer look, I have links down below to lots of different stores where you can pick them up depending on which are your favorite stores to shop at. I also have a link down in the description box below for the Buy Me a Coffee link in case you would like to support my videos and support my channel, which I appreciate so very much. And then here is where I found this extra little floating leaf, and I knew that this one just needed this. I think this is the perfect little space filler for that empty white space there. And so these are my 2 cards finished for today. I hope you enjoyed these techniques on water reactive inks, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye!